Welcome, everybody, to the REDX podcast, where we bring amazing people on the show and teach you amazing things to help you do better in your business. Today, our guest, as you can see on the screen, is Mike Simonsen. Mike, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here again.
Mike is with Altos Research. For those that have been coming on the show regularly, you've heard me quote or tell people to go to Altos Research over and over. We did that enough times that we thought, hey, it's time to get Mike back on the show and talk about a few things. So by no means will this be a promotional episode. You're going to learn a ton from Mike. Every time he speaks, you learn. So for those of you that are watching on Facebook, YouTube, our website, all of the different places where we're streaming the show, welcome and thank you for being here. Let us know where you're from. Just pop in the chat there. That way that'll get you accustomed to typing in the chat and asking questions, because we want this to be we want you to participate. So we want you to ask questions. I'll get those questions to Mike and we'll answer those questions as we go. I think that's all the intro here. So let me talk. Let me just give you my own point of view here. Bobby, thank you for joining in there. I see other people coming in on other platforms, so I'll be monitoring that. We'll make sure that we get in there. My perspective on data is, as we change, as the internet becomes more prevalent, even in the last 6 months since COVID and quarantine and Zoom meetings and the digital aspect of our life, it's crazy. I have kids. My kids no longer ask me, I don't know if I should be embarrassed or proud of this, Mike, but my kids no longer ask me, hey, Dad, do you know? They'll say, Dad, can you look up? Or Dad, is there a YouTube video? Or Dad, can you ask Siri about this, right? There's tremendous amount of opportunity to have data and answers and information in front of you because of the internet. And more consumers in any industry, not just real estate, but in any industry, no longer are the sellers, the sales reps, the keeper of the knowledge, right? Unless, let me get to the point here, unless that's what people are seeking, right? We seek an expert. Siri happens to be the expert for a lot of people, but I don't. If I'm not satisfied with what I'm getting from the expert that I go to the internet and either validate or do that. And you look at generationally, the millennial generation, Gen Z, they want mentorship. They want to find people that have the answer, and they want to do research on their own. They want to parallel that information. So data to me is so important. And Altos Research has the data on real estate market and what's going on. Long before I knew Mike or was introduced to him, I knew about Altos Research because I had some investment properties. I wanted to know exactly what was going on in the marketplace for those. I wanted to know exactly what was going on for where my primary residence is. So I've been a fan of Altos for a very long time. But I want to talk data a little bit, Mike. So the question out of the gate is why is data so important for agents to become the expert, and why is it so important that they have the right information?
Yeah, we've said for a long time that there's actually only 3 questions in real estate. The consumer has only 3 questions. It's what's for sale, how much is my house worth, and how's the market? And so you can think about all the technology and all the tools, all the research that people do online. It all comes down to those things, right? So you have your REDX, you've got your listing alerts. These are all what's for sale questions. You have CMAs, and you have the home valuation lead things, and those are how much is my house worth. But all the questions like, is now a good time? Do I have a lot of selection? What should I be planning for? Do I need to wait? Is this a good deal? These are all how's the market questions. How's the market? And so the so many agents focus on the first two. We got our tools, we got our things, and really good agents know in their bones how to answer how's the market questions. Most of us, and even those that know it in their bones, we need to be able to illustrate. We need to be able to communicate, and you need to be able to say, it's not just my recommendation. Here's what the data says. Using the data the evidence for your recommendation is a super powerful way to demonstrate your expertise. So now the consumer has these questions, and so we have the opportunity to be the voice of expertise when we have answers to that question. I used to go on stage and I would ask a crowd of realtors. I'd say, all right, everybody, I have a question for you. How's the market? And without hesitation, every single person in the room would say, it's great. And they would, because we're taught to not be the Debbie Downer, like it's always positive. And even, when it's 2010 and the market is not great, it is the worst it's ever been. And the room goes, it's great. And so my point with that question is, we want to, when somebody says, hey, oh, you're a realtor, how's the market? To answer with data, to be able to say inventory is at record low. It's at low across all price points. Homes in our highest demand price point are going in 17 days. Like that, all of a sudden, now the consumer's eyes just bug out and say, oh my goodness, I need to work with you because you know what you're talking about.
Right.
And that's the power of the data.
Well, and yeah, I mean, you said so many good things there. Using data to establish yourself as the expert,
yep.
But using data as evidence to support, what you're telling people to do, I think is, if people didn't follow my ADD rant in the beginning there, I think that's what I was trying to show is they're going to go find data with or without you. Yeah. And that's either going to be correct and they're going to trust and like you more, or it's going to destroy trust. And that has happened to me in my own marketplace, asking a real estate agent about the market and where my primary residence was. And this person did not navigate the conversation well because they didn't know. I would have rather had, let me check on your particular town or zip code. That would have been a much better answer than all of this stuff. And I had just recently looked at my Altos Research report. I knew the average days on market. I knew, the average median home price. I had all this information, and I'm going, I don't think this person knows what they're talking about. Like data didn't, it was evidence, but it was evidence that they were trying to BS their way through the conversation. Yeah. And so it's very powerful. There is, I don't mean this to be like I just love Mike Simonsen and Altos so much, but it's going to keep coming out. But I have a lot of employees here that I have look at a couple of websites. Yours is one of them. And especially the new videos that you're doing. That seems, if they're not new, then I apologize. No, it seems like a COVID new video series. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Those are fantastic. I know that you put those out on Monday. I would love if you jumped into that, and I think it would give the listeners a better idea of what we're talking about in terms of data and having that data to support their expertise on what's going on in the market.
For sure.
So
yeah, you want to talk about like what's happening right now in the country?
Heck yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about what's going on in the market. I mean, that's my question to you. How's the market, Mike?
All right. Let me share my screen. Let's see here. Yeah. And here. All right. How's that look?
We can see it. Great.
Okay. So the big story this year is this record low, incredibly low available inventory. Right now, there are 591,000 single family homes for sale in the whole country. Normally, there's at least 1 million. And in the last few years, it's actually been decreasing more or less each year. You can see in this chart, 2016 is the blue line. And so this time of year, we had 1.1 million, and now we're down under 600,000. This is, it's just like, it's nuts. It's surprising. It's nuts. What's happened in recent years, as interest rates have been ultra low, holding costs of your home are way down. So each year when people go to move up or move down, more and more often they are keeping the first home and buying the second home. And as a result, active inventory is shrinking each year. And so you can see at the beginning of the year here, million in 2016, there was under 900,000 2017. 2018 started under 800,000. 2018 had rising rates during the year and inventory built. And I don't know if you remember, but at that time, a couple of years ago, the headlines were, wow, real estate is really slowing down. And that was, interest rates went from whatever it was, 3.5% to 4.5% at the end of 2018. Then 2019 started a little higher, the green line, and rates fell all year 2019. So they started this year, 2020, at the record low levels. We had just a couple of months, 3 months of normal behavior, and then COVID hit, and people are buying everything in sight. So there's fewer new listings and more transactions happening since April every week, and we've just, in a time when inventory should be climbing, it's been falling. It's really remarkable. There are so this is a national view. As you think about individual agents in local markets, it turns out that this phenomenon is basically true across the country and across price points. It's in places like in Manhattan and in San Francisco proper. There's been a lot of remote workers going on, and so they're moving to what we call a co-primary home market, or a Zoom town is what some folks are calling it, where it's you've been living in San Francisco, but you can now live in the mountains. And I know I spent most of my spring and summer up in my mountain house in Tahoe, and the market up there is on fire because people are buying. But it's also basically true across price points. It's true, like people are moving out of San Francisco and moving to LA, so it's really true. It's true across the whole country. So that's what's the story on inventory. And it's important for, when, as you're an agent communicating with your buyers, to talk about the urgency. Like, if you like this property, we need to make an offer now. So those are, that's a national view. It's one. Here's another view that we just did. This is, you can see weekly. This is weekly changes by year. So each year, the dark orange here is 2016. You normally have these weeks of 2016 where, the spring, the most of the first and second quarter are increasing inventory week over week. Here's the brighter orange of 2017. In 2018, that extended further out for the year because rates were climbing, and so inventory built a little bit during the year. 2019 was stronger, and the second half of 2019 was a lot of demand, and then 2020 we started low, and we have only these couple of weeks of March when inventory climbed. It's really remarkable. The rest of the year is here, and now we can look at the normal part of the year where the inventory is going to fall. So we expect that we're going to start 2021 with only 378,000 homes for sale, like half of what it started this year with, and just dramatically lower before the spring inventory starts coming on next year. It is until some kind of other shock happens or change happens, rates climb, or some kind of economic shock. This is what we're looking at in terms of the inventory changes for the rest of the year. It's just remarkable.
That's amazing.
It is. The prices wise, national median home price is $353,000. It's been flat for a few months. It is normally this time of year, the green dot here is where we would be year over year. Normally it's pulled back from the peak. Our peak this year got delayed by a couple months or stretched out. So normally peaks, end of June 30, then the summer is people are trying to sell before school starts, and so prices start getting cut to stimulate demand. That got extended, so it really hasn't happened yet. And really, our home prices are up 8.7% year over year. The green line here is really cool. This is a number we use as a leading indicator for where transaction prices are going to happen in the future. So the leading indicator here is the median price of the newly listed cohort. Each week, a newly listed set of properties comes on, and right now it was 77,000 new properties this week came on the market. And this is the median price of those homes. What happens is when demand is strong, the sellers and the listing agents know September, and the closes that happen in October already have the demand. We can already see it in the market, so we know that prices aren't going to fall in October. We can already see it September, October, even November now in the data. So that's where we are year to date. Is that making sense?
Yeah, and I think so. And then you'll have to unshare your screen so that we can see again.
Yep.
Yeah. So take the overwhelming feeling out of it for agents that may not be analytical, and even on that last chart, I probably offline would have asked some more clarifying questions of how that works. But I tend to want to jump into the data and understand it. So take the overwhelming. Not everybody's analytical.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to want to grab that chart and put it in front of their customers. So how does a normal agent use this?
Yeah, the normal agent, I can share my screen again, actually. I will share here. A normal agent will use the Altos reports, and this is a national one that I've got pulled up, but these are down at the city, state, zip level. And so really the overwhelmingness is actually a really powerful point. It's also true for consumers, not just the agents, right? Everybody knows what's going on. One of the things that we do a couple of things to help that. One is we like to use written text, so all of our reports have written text so you can read it and see what's happening. The other thing is this market action index. And the market action index is at a glance, how's the market? It's the supply versus demand. So when that thing is climbing, the market's getting hotter. So even if you're an agent who is like, I all the data and it's bouncing around and I don't know what to say, one powerful technique that I love to share is you take your report into the listing presentation. You can imagine, put your market report on the top of the and you ask the seller, "Are you a big geek or a little geek?"
Right.
You're going to dive in. You're going to see all the data. You're going to do what we've been talking about. You can mouse over and see the trends, and you can see all the but even if you're just a little geek, I'm going to put this report in your inbox every Monday. I want you to look at just one number. I want you to keep your eye on this market action index. If this falls while we have your house listed, that's the market giving us a signal that demand is falling off and supply, your competition, is increasing. So if this falls while we have your house listed, especially if it falls to or below 30, that's a market giving us a strong signal that maybe we need to, for example, get ahead of this with a price reduction. And then what's powerful is then the seller A knows, as you were pointing out at the beginning, like, oh, Curtis is the guy who gives me the data. Like, he knows
Right.
exactly what we're doing. And then he goes, the buyer is sitting there and says, wow, Curtis, I've been looking at this report. And guess what? Like, I see this number falling like you said to look for. Like, maybe we need to do a price reduction. You put the power into the hands of the consumer. And now it's not you delivering bad news. It's the market is giving us a signal. It's a super powerful way to communicate. This one, by the way, is branded for Altos. Brand them. We brand it for each of the agents. So it's your brand. It's not the Altos brand. It's not a Zillow brand. It's not, it's your brand in front of, it's you establishing, it's you sending the emails. So that's the real powerful way. It's are you a big geek or a little geek question?
Right. Well, I think it's amazing, and it puts the agent as the expert in the market. Again, just to go back, I think it's amazing to use data to establish yourself as the expert, and then to use evidence of that. And then I think the third real big, at least for me, one of the biggest takeaways is you as the agent are never the bearer of bad news, so to speak, but the market is giving us signals and indicating what we should do to help best accomplish the goals of the homeowner or home seller or buyer.
Yeah, Curtis, there's another thought as as people are in, for example, the REDX platform, and they are thinking about scripts of how to communicate with the buyer. You've got someone on the phone. Working the data into that script is a very powerful communication mechanism. So, for example, the call comes and it's an expired, or it's a, whatever the lead source is, the ability to say, this, I know I saw that your lead expired, but the days on market's actually falling for this in your market. That tells me that we can do something to price this property properly to actually get it sold. And its days on market was at 70 days when you listed. It's now down to 49. We can take action to make this thing happen. So working that number into the script is an incredibly powerful way to move that conversation along, to establish you as the expert. Why should I work with this person who just randomly called me? All of these elements is a really powerful mechanism for it.
No, well, and I'll echo that. I know agents that use market statistics for different lead types. For sell by owners example is when they first listed, and if you're tracking essentially how long that's been for sale, using the days on market can be really powerful.
Yes.
And to do that, and especially when you break it down by price range, like a home in your price range should look like, the sale should look like this, because every sale looks like this. And if yours doesn't, then we can help. Different lead sources, and there's different points of data that I think work well for each one. I think a lot of people geo farm, and one thing about a geographic farm where you're just trying to establish your expertise in an area, in a neighborhood, what better way to do that than know what you're talking about with what's going on?
Yes. Yep, for sure. And the nice thing about doing it in this style where you have a report for every zip code you work, or the whole county, or all of these elements, is that even if you're like, you're working one town over and you haven't sold a lot of houses there yet, grabbing the report, boop, and now you're an expert instantly on that data.
All right.
Really
That's really great. Talk to me about the dissidence between what's actually going on and with what the consumer believes is going on.
Yeah. So the fact that the market is so hot is really counterintuitive. I certainly didn't predict it. Like, I remember I did a podcast with Brad Inman at the beginning of or end of March, and I thought, holy moly, we're in for a cratering. But the market just defied expectations. So how do we communicate that? And how can we possibly have a roaring housing market, home prices up 8%, when 15% of the country is unemployed? Like, how can that possibly be? How can that possibly hold up? So I have a so the key is a supply and demand. We know that supply is at crazy record low, and in fact, for the first few months of the COVID period, inventory was record low and demand was okay. Now inventory is record low and demand is actually high.
What are the data points that tell you that demand is high or low?
So we have a few in the Altos data, meaning so it's one of the interesting thing is traditionally using sales numbers as a measure of demand, like how many transactions happened. The problem is you can't rely on transaction count in a supply constrained market.
Right.
There would be more homes for sale. So we have to use other things. So we use a number, percentage of homes on the market that have taken a price reduction. Normally, about a third, 35%, are overpriced and they take a cut. Sometimes that's intentional, sometimes it's strategic, sometimes it's a crazy seller, whatever the reason is, they're overpriced and they take a cut.
It's never because an agent doesn't know how to price a home, though, right?
No, that's right. It's the seller. Right. And so, but for whatever reason, about 35%, 40%, depending on the market, 40% are overpriced. They take a cut before they sell. Right now, we are at 25%. So that means that 35% thought they were overpriced, but only 25% had to take the price cut. That's because demand is high. As soon as demand backs off, the first thing you do as a seller is you cut your price. And so as demand backs off, price reductions rise. So as in a cool market, it's now 45%. In the depths of the 2009, 2010 period, it's 50%, like half the homes have taken a cut. So that's a real powerful signal of where demand is, organic levels of demand in the market. You can also look at things like, mortgage purchase applications and those things, and those are up year over year. Like there are more purchase applications now than there were, like 10% more than last year, in a dramatically tighter inventory. So you can see that, and our market action index also does that. Uses that relative level to supply versus demand. So all of those things tell us that demand is actually higher right now. And one of my hypotheses is like, how could this possibly be? It feels like to me that the unemployed, we've had 10 years of rising home prices. We've had a 10-year bull market in home prices. And so the people who are unemployed now, the service workers, the Uber driver type, that group was in many ways already locked out of the real estate market. And so they weren't in the buyer pool already. And what's left is the rest of us who are now nesting and locking down and thinking about our Zoomtown second home and all of these things. And it's time to buy. And so so those are why that's where the demand is coming from. And it's, like I said, it's across all price points. It's across the country. It's really high in the places like the mountains of Lake Tahoe or the resort towns in Montana. People are just, sight unseen in New York going, I'll take the ranch, I'll buy it, whatever it is. And it's exploding in Missoula and Whitefish, Montana, and places like that. Even Hawaii, which has a very different orbit from the rest of the country, is experiencing the remote buyers right now.
Well, so I grew up real close to Whitefish, Montana, and my parents are still up there, and yet it's crazy. The prices, in part because you're getting cash offers, no contingency, no appraisal, no, it's closing in 3 days.
Yeah.
and sight unseen because they're selling, often high, or because interest rates are at 2.5%, even if they are financing. But a lot of people who are moving in you got a lot of people leaving the city life to go find a Zoom home.
Yep.
And they can work remote. They're going to need to get better internet there in Montana before, but it's crazy. The price is like jaw dropping crazy what people are paying for coming in over appraised value, which you do enough of that, then it rises. So if that continues, is that a bad thing? I mean, does the market correct after something like this? Get your crystal ball out, Mike.
Yeah, it's funny. Going into 2020, we've had 9 years of rising market, and so what are the signals I looked for to say if it's going to fall? I thought two things were potential. If we hit a recession, and if interest rates climb, we hit the recession, and I was totally wrong. Right. But that leaves interest rates. So, we can buy, right. You can buy, at a lot of house at 2.5% interest rates, 3% interest rate. Like it is really impactful. We also know that 2018 backed way off and inventory rose, demand decreased, prices flattened as interest rates climbed in the second half of 2018. And they went from whatever it was, 3.5% to 4.5% or something like that.
Right.
And it's just 4.5%. Right. That's still crazy low, but we felt it really quickly. And so the bearish scenario is if there's a trigger for interest rates, bearish for prices. If there's a trigger for interest rates so interest rates go from 3 to 4.5 or something like that to 5%. Things are going to feel expensive. Therefore, more get listed, fewer get bought, inventory builds. What's interesting is that may actually increase our transaction volume because there's more homes for sale. I don't see. So one of the questions that I get a lot right now is, what about like all of these mortgages that people aren't paying? There's 3.8 million homes in the forbearance process. Yeah. And so we got to work those out. One of the reasons that inventory is low right now is because we've had a foreclosure moratorium. So even homes that normally, for normal reasons like, life reasons or whatever, you stop paying and it goes into foreclosure. Even those are gone right now. So that's normal, a few thousand, homes each week that would be on the market and offering, creating supply. Those aren't there. So at some point we got to work out the ones that are in this forbearance process. They're either going to start paying or they got to sell. What's interesting is what's different this time from the last time is the unlikely scenario that they actually go into foreclosure. And it doesn't look like they go into foreclosure for two reasons. One is because we have record levels of equity in the
Right.
country. And two is because homes are selling quickly. If you can't pay your mortgage, you just sell the house.
Well,
Right.
and what did it say your average days on market in the whole country is right now? I mean, I was up
Average
on the
days on
report.
market in the whole country is, let's see. Right now we're at 117, down from 134 a couple of months ago. That's average. Median is actually lower than that because that gets skewed higher by properties that have been on the market for a long time.
Yeah, if you look at the median home price, the 353 or whatever, and the average days on market, I think even states like Texas have a really fast foreclosure process.
Yep.
I mean, worst case scenario, you're dumping that. Yeah, we have. It's a great listing opportunity right now. Despite the moratorium, there's still notice of defaults being filed. Right? People are still and REDX as a shameless plug, we have that. You can buy those leads from us, for the pre-foreclosures, really pre-foreclosed, and people they have equity, and you could drastically change somebody's life if a notice of default gets filed and you say, hey, let me show you how I can put 70, 80, 100 grand in your pocket and avoid the foreclosure.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's sorry for the tangent, but yeah, I mean,
no, that's exactly the point, right? Like, and there are two periods coming up when that might be particularly compelling. One is October this year, and that'll be the 180-day window from the start of the forbearance window from March to October, and then again it's going to be April next year. So now it's the year anniversary of that. So if you haven't been paying your mortgage for a year, and now we see some light at the end of the tunnel, and we have to, now there are going to be some folks, I imagine, that need to sell at that time, who don't want to start that back up. They've had a year, whatever the year not paying the mortgage, and now they can't. So those are two windows, and I'm looking, as Altos, we're going to keep an eye on inventory levels in October and April. The first window, the 90-day window, came and went, no inventory, like none of those got listed. But so there's 180 days, and some of those were 180-day deals, and some of that may be happening at that time. So that's October, and then we'll have another set, beginning of next year, and we're gonna have to figure out how to get those back. Those back current, and there's a lot of work to be done there, and some of those houses will get sold. I don't foresee like a big wave of foreclosure because of equity and demand and all the other pieces. It feels like there may be a decent amount, like actually, hopefully there's some inventory that comes from that.
Right.
That is actually different from there's a lot of cash on the sidelines. Buyers who are the vultures, right, waiting for the bargains, and it's all over the Bay Area here. People with lots of cash, and they're like, I can't wait for it. And one of the questions is like, how long you been waiting for that deal? Right. It's like, I don't see it coming.
Well, and I think people, at least from our clients' perspective, and they're seeing interest rates is the name of the game right now. Yeah. And you could wait all you want, and prices might go down, but 2.5%. So, I mean, if you're a cash buyer, maybe that you're waiting, but the majority of buyers are not cash buyers.
Right. They're
interest rate buyers. And like you said, you could buy a lot of house at 2.5% interest,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I wouldn't give myself that loan.
Right. Well, this is amazing. Consumers, I think just to throw something in there, Mike, I think our job as real estate professionals is to overcome fear in the marketplace. And fear is only overcome with truth. And if we know what's actually going on, And knowledge puts us in control of the conversation, control of, and if we give that knowledge to consumers, they feel in control of what you're doing. And I know you said that before of we won't be the bearers of bad news. The market gives signals, but I liked what you said. You put the control in their hands. That mitigates their fear.
Yes.
And I think we have a responsibility to go into the marketplace, and because you can't pull up the news and feel great about the real estate market right now, because the news is designed to get attention, and we're paying attention to a lot of negativity right now. But we can bring some hope and to the marketplace and show them what's really going on, because there is some amazing opportunity out there in real estate, both from an equity position, from an interest rate position, from an investment. People want to get into investing. They could have never got into investing before. But unless we as real estate professionals understand what's going on, and I'm a big believer in understanding all the way down to the micro level. If you want to, and in part because we sell neighborhood data so that you can farm a neighborhood, you want to be the expert in that neighborhood, you should know what's going on in that neighborhood.
For sure.
And in fact, I talked to a broker this morning, and he has an agent that works condo units, 1,000 condos, 40 transactions a year, because she knows every single detail about those 1,000 condos, what's going on, who are the buyers, who's coming in. And if you have the information, then that puts you in a position to be able to help more people, and helping more people means more commissions.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So
absolutely. The consumer right now, there's still a lot of consumers. I sometimes forget this because I'm in the data all the time, and I'm creating videos, but it turns out there's a lot of people who don't pay attention to my videos, and so they are surprised to learn that the market's on fire.
Yeah.
Right. So they are assuming that the economy is destroyed, and therefore, so is the real estate market. And they are also surprised that they aren't the only ones with the idea to go buy, in Napa right now.
Right.
They're surprised, like, I was thinking it's probably time for me, and so that data helps, especially those, those folks that haven't been that close. And so to be able to be strong with your view and informed, like, that's a real confident position to be in that consumers want to work with.
Yeah. Thank you. That's amazing. So for the listeners out there, altosresearch.com, we're going to post tons of links in the comments, so you'll have these, but at a minimum, if you need to go subscribe to Mike's YouTube channel to get these weekly updates on what's going on in the marketplace, so that you can do exactly what he's saying, is be able to speak with the potential customers with confidence and give them confidence to make the right decisions to move them forward in their life. This has been amazing, Mike. I mean, I'll give you one more chance. Any advice to agents who are listening, with what's going on in the marketplace? Sorry, I'll give you that chance, but just to insert, I think data is always important. I think right now, because of the dissonance between what's going on in the economy and what's really happening in real estate, there's never a better time to have a resource to tell you what's going on in the real estate market. So I'll say that, but any other advice that you want to leave with everybody?
Yeah. Let's see. We have, if you remember that there's only 3 questions in real estate: what's for sale, how much is my house worth, and how's the market? And how's the market is for everyone. It's for buyers, it's for sellers, it's for past clients, it's for keeping in contact with folks, it's for investors. All of the players have that question. And so the data about and just understanding a couple little stats: inventory, days of market, price, a handful of those, all of a sudden puts you as the expert and way above all the competition in the space.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Mike. Let's answer a couple of questions here. One is Amanda is asking about any of the reports available in video format.
They are not available in video format, but we do teach you how to make. We can teach you how to make your own videos, walking through your reports that you can share to folks.
Okay, that's great. And there's a ton of questions about the product, and I was going to read these, but why don't we do this? Where can people go and kind of get the whole outline of the product and
yeah, so altosresearch.com, ALTOS, altosresearch.com. You can subscribe there. If you subscribe right now, use the coupon code SCPT-SEPT20. So that's September 20. So that we give your listeners a 3-month discount.
like that.
Yep. And if you want to just connect first and book a demo on there, there's a learn more, book a demo opportunity, and you can talk. We can strategize about your business and do those things so that we work. You can answer more detailed questions that way. But
Okay,
if you're ready
awesome.
to go, you will get it rolling right now.
Right. I think that is most of the questions I see on the different platforms here where people are chiming in. So we'll let them go there and get the answers to those questions. And we posted, does it matter if it's uppercase, lowercase in the for the code?
It should not matter.
Okay, great. Well, Mike, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure chatting with you.
No, I think do it uppercase.
Uppercase.
I think do it uppercase. Make sure we do it uppercase.
Yeah, we posted it uppercase. So
okay,
do
great.
it as posted in the comments. We'll get that posted everywhere. Mike, thank you so much for the info with what's going on in the marketplace. And I'm always grateful that somebody brings some hope. I think there is a lot of negativity in the market right now, and it's easy for people to project that into their business and or even project that onto their potential clients. And like I said, we have an obligation to go out and educate people on truth. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes the truth is not great. It's not great news.
That's right.
But we have an obligation to understand what's going on.
That's right. Even when it's not good news, the information is the antidote to the fear.
Yep. Well, and I appreciate that. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed that, make sure you reach out. Better yet, go subscribe to Mike's YouTube channel, get online and do a demo, check out the stuff. And thank you again, Mike, for the discount for all the listeners here today. Everybody, we continue the conversation as always in a couple of places. We continue the conversation on our the REDX Elite Prospecting group on Facebook. And that's where you can ask questions, not just about products or anything, but if you're a prospecting agent, jump on and you can get a lot of great information there. You can even ping Mike. I don't know if you belong to that group, but now you should, because people might ask you questions there.
Great. I will look for that.
Also our forum, REDX, that's forum.theredx.com. If you're a customer, we always have the topic and conversation going there. For everybody, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be here on Wednesday talking to Brianne, and that's going to be a great one. That's going to be 1:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and here on all of the different channels that we broadcast. So thank you so much, and that's a wrap for today.
Thanks, Curtis.